Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. Hope you guys are having a good day so far. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good myself. Now, today's story is absolutely insane. It's wild. It's crazy. I hope you all enjoy it. And let's just jump into it because I really don't know how else to intro this thing. So yeah, let's just start it. So today's story time all takes place back in the year 2012, I believe. This was either 2012 or 2013. I remember I was very young in this, very long time ago. I was still a kid, still in school, doing my thing, right? Young kid, young Luna. Now, around this time, 2012, 2013, I had a friend of mine. We'll just call this friend James, okay? James was my best friend at the time. I met James in first grade. He was like my first friend ever in school. And from first grade all the way until high school, I'd say, we were pretty close friends. I still talk to James to this day. We're not as close as we once were just because he lives, in another state now and he's working some big job and he's really busy. But we're still friends to this day. We still hang out when we can. And James is the GOAT. Good dude, right? Now, for you to really understand the full grasp of this story time, I need to take it all the way back to the day me and James met. So I met him in first grade, like I said. I remember I was at my desk in first grade. It was during math class. I remember this shit so vividly just because of how important he was as my friend. We were in math and he came up to me and he sat down. He was like, "Hey, do you like math?" And I was like, "No, not really." He goes, "Me neither. Want to be friends?" And I was like, "Sure, dude." And that was how we became friends. We literally just didn't like math, so we both became friends. And after that, we started being like, "Hey, what kind of video games do you like? What do you like to listen to for music?" And we were just getting to know each other. And I remember a week later, after me and James had been hanging out in school every day, James asked me to come sleep over at his house. And I was like, "Of course, that'd be sick." So I went home and I asked my mom, "Hey, can I sleep over at James's this weekend?" And she was like, "Sure. Where does he live?" And I proceeded to tell her what street he lived on. And she goes, "Oh, he lives there?" And I was like, "What does that mean? What's wrong with where he lives?" And she's like, "Austin, that's a very dangerous street. I don't know if I want you over there." And I was like, "What? Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's really dangerous." And I remember going to school the next day or something and being like, "James, do you live on a bad street?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's a little bad." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm sure I could probably still convince my mom to let me go, or maybe you can come to my house." And he told me that he can't sleep over at my house because his mom doesn't let him have sleepovers at other people's houses. They have to come to his. I thought that was kind of odd, to be honest. I thought that was kind of weird, but whatever, right? That's whatever. So I ended up going home that day and being like, "Mom, can I please sleep at James's this weekend? He can't come here. His mom won't let him. I have to go there." And she was like, "Okay, well, let me go and meet James's mom and see where he lives, and then we'll, figure that out." And I was like, "Okay." So my mom ended up calling James's mom. She got her number from the phone book or something. And we drove over to James's house that day, and our moms met, and we kind of hung out for an hour, and my mom got to see the house they lived in the area that they were in. And I ain't gonna lie, upon arriving at James's street, that shit did look pretty fucked up. It was pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. There was 4 houses right next to James's that were straight up bandos, just abandoned houses, and people sitting outside of those, posted up, probably selling some shit. And on top of that, there was cops posted up on both ends of the street at all times. It definitely was a high crime area. But my mom could see how good of friends I was with James and how much I wanted to stay there that weekend. And very hesitantly, my mom was like, "Okay, fine. You can spend a night here, but I'm getting you the next day. You're not staying the whole weekend." And I was like, "Okay." So my mom actually was convinced to let me stay there. I could definitely tell she didn't want me to stay there still, at all, but she was convinced by me. And yeah, come Friday, we had the sleepover. I stayed there. Nothing went wrong. And for years to come after that, I slept over at James's house all the time. He slept over at my house eventually as well after his mom finally let him start leaving. And we had a bunch of years of sleeping over at each other's houses and hanging out every summer and almost every weekend and just constantly staying at each other's houses with no problems whatsoever. Until one day that all changed. So yeah, fast forward, it's 2012, 2013. Me and James are in middle school. We're not too far from entering high school. I think at this point we were 1 or 2 years away from going into high school. And yeah, we were just still good friends. We'd still hang out at each other's houses all the time. Still very much best friends, right? And one day I'm in my room playing some video games, and James texts me, and he goes, yo, man, you want to sleep over this weekend? And I was like, yeah, I'm down. Your house? He's like, yeah, man, come to mine. I'm like, all right, bet, sounds good. So fast forward to that weekend. It was like any other weekend going to James's house. I just packed my stuff, told my mom I was going to sleep there that weekend. She said that was fine. Just, let her know if I needed anything. And I set off to James's house. She took me there. She dropped me off. And the sleepover started off like any other sleepover. Just us hanging out, playing video games, kicking it. And James was still living at that house. That same house on that dangerous road that my mom did not like and that sketched her out really bad. But like I said, it had been years. There had been no problems. I mean, there had been a few problems on the street itself with like other houses and other people and stuff. But in terms of like James's house and his parents and shit, they didn't have any issues and like no one messed with his house. So we were good. We were safe, right? At least I thought. Well, on this night, little did I know, shit was about to go wrong. So a few hours into me being there for the sleepover, like I said, we were just playing video games, hanging out, doing our thing. James's mom comes into the living room. She comes in and she's like, hey guys, I'm going out for the night. I'm sleeping over at my boyfriend's. Are you guys going to be okay here without me? And I just nodded my head. I didn't really care. And James was like, yeah, we'll be fine. And she goes, okay, well, don't worry. You won't be alone the whole night. Your uncle's going to come stay the night. And James is like, oh, cool. Sounds good. Apparently, James had a really cool uncle. I'd always hear James talk about him, and I'd actually never met him yet in like the years we had been friends. So I was kind of excited to meet the guy. And yeah, James's mom left, and like 15, 20 minutes later, James's uncle pulled up, and this dude actually was really, really cool. He was super young. I remember he was like very young. I think he was like in his early 20s or something. Like young uncle. Really funny dude. I remember he walked in and he saw us playing Halo and he's like, holy fuck, is that Halo? Yo, give me a controller. Like, I'm going to fuck you guys up. And I was like, yo, this guy's funny. Okay, this is going to be a fun night. And yeah, James's uncle was really, really cool. He wasn't kidding. This dude was like actually the shit. And he spent most of the night just playing Halo with us, hanging out. I remember at one point we got hungry and he ordered us pizza and then he baked us cookies afterwards. Like, motherfucker, like what? Like, this dude was just the coolest dude ever. And yeah, finally it got pretty late and me and James were pretty tired and so was his uncle. And his uncle's like, yeah, man, I'm going to go to bed. You guys can stay up as late as you want. Just stay here. Don't leave the house. Don't sneak out or anything. Just as long as you stay here, it's all good. So basically his uncle told us like, yeah, stay in the house, but you can stay up as long as you want. Play your games, do whatever, right? So that's what we did. We're playing our games in the living room, playing some Halo still, hanging out, enjoying the night, right? Now, a couple hours later, now it's really late. I can't remember the exact time that it was at this point, but it had to have been between like 3 and 5 in the morning. It was very late, or I guess early if you want to be technical, in the morning. But yeah, it was late night, still to me. And me and James are playing our game still, not really that tired, still just locked in. And then like all of a sudden, while we're playing Halo, we hear this like weird noise from behind us outside. Sounded like voices. Actually, it kind of sounded like somebody was on the phone. It sounded like someone was talking and then like a weird, like high-pitched kind of speakerphone sound was coming like through the wall. And I was like, okay, maybe someone's on the phone out there, right? We didn't think much of it. We just kind of kept playing our game. And eventually we start getting kind of tired. I remember it was like 30 minutes later. We're getting tired. We still heard whoever it was out there talking on the phone. And me and James were both kind of like, all right, let's just go to bed. So we turned off the Xbox, brushed our teeth, got ready for bed. James went into his room. I went into the guest room. I laid down. I was exhausted. And I'm just laying there in the guest room, kind of starting to drift off. Very tired, like I said. When all of a sudden, I hear the loudest slamming sound ever. Like, this shit was loud. I don't even know how to describe what it sounded like. It just sounded like something very heavy, like really, really heavy, just hit the floor. It sounded like either somebody fell or like something just really heavy fell down. And it was not the kind of sound that you would just naturally hear in a house at night. You know how sometimes you're like going to bed and you hear like the AC kick on or like the sound of the pipes or something in the walls? Like, this was something that happened and somebody was downstairs that caused it, Like, this wasn't like his cat knocking something over. This was like something big just fell down and it's either a person or somebody, threw something or dropped something. So immediately I get up out of bed, right? I jump up out of bed. I open the guest room door. And when I open the door, I see James opening his door because he obviously heard it too. And right then and there, that confirmed that it wasn't James downstairs. It was somebody else, hopefully his uncle. And James walks up to me and he's like, yo, did you hear that shit? And I was like, yeah, bro, I thought it was you down there. He's like, bro, I thought it was you. And I was like, it's probably your uncle. And then the third door opens up to the parents' bedroom, and his uncle comes out, and he goes, yo, what the fuck you guys doing out here? And I was like, what? What are you doing out here? He's like, bro, you didn't hear that shit? I was like, yeah, I heard it. I thought it was you downstairs. It wasn't you? He's like, no, it wasn't you guys? And we're like, no. And now everyone's scared. Now everybody's freaked out. And he goes, okay, listen, go to your rooms, lock the doors. Don't come out for anybody or anything unless I say so. Don't come out until I say it's safe. And we're like, okay. So we both ended up going into James's room and we locked his door. We figured, me and James in the same room, it's probably better than us being separated in different rooms. So we went to the room and we locked the door and we're shitting ourselves, bro. Like absolutely 110% shitting ourselves. And we start to hear the creaking of the stairs because you can hear, James's uncle like creeping downstairs real slowly. And it goes from like very quiet footsteps to just all out chaos. We hear like the creaking of the footsteps and just immediately we hear two voices yelling and the sound of things banging up against the wall and the sound of like just absolute fucking chaos, right? And I look over at James, I'm like, yo, call the fucking cops. And immediately he gets his phone, starts dialing the cops. We're like 120% just freaking out, obviously. And yeah, James is on the phone with the police at this point, and all I'm hearing downstairs is just yelling and screaming and like stuff banging around. And it sounded like multiple people too, like multiple voices yelling and screaming. One of those voices was obviously James's uncle, and then the other voices, it sounded like multiple. We obviously didn't recognize. And we just kept hearing yelling and screaming. We couldn't really make out what they were yelling. The only thing I could hear at one point is I heard James's uncle say, yeah, what's up? Fuck you. I heard that at one point. So definitely sounded pretty hostile. But anyway, after James is on the phone with the police for quite a while and we keep hearing just this insanity going on downstairs, about, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 minutes later, James's uncle bangs on the door and goes, come out, guys, come out. And we walk out. And James's uncle looked pretty fucked up. I'm not going to lie. He had blood coming out of his nose. He looked pretty, bruised in the face. However, he was standing strong and he looked like he was generally okay besides the minor injuries on his face. He goes, yo, there was 2 guys. They broke in. I beat the fuck out of them and they went running. And I was like, are you kidding? He's like, yeah, call the cops. And James is like, I'm already on the phone with the cops. He goes, all right, good. And we went downstairs and the door was like wide open and James ended up like closing it and locking it. And when I tell you the living room was in fucking shambles, bro, like this living room, it looked like a fucking tornado went through it, dude. Like the couch was moved over on the other side of the room. There was like a broken table, like glass everywhere. And there was this giant grandfather clock that James's parents owned. And that was on the ground, like shattered. And it was like completely tipped over. And this thing was fucking heavy. So I think that explains the really loud noise that we all initially heard, because it was right next to a window that was open. And I remember I looked over at James's uncle and I was like, hey, is that how they broke in? Was that window? And he goes, yeah, I think so. I came down here. They were already in the room. It was 2 guys and I fought them off and they ran out the front door. They opened it up and they ran off. So yeah, they came in through the window, it seems like, and then they like ran off through the front. So anyway, a couple minutes later, cops pulled up. They came in. We had to talk to them. Obviously, at this point, James's mom came back as well because James's uncle called his mom and was like, hey, get back. Your house just got broken into. And like 5 minutes later, my mom pulled up as well because I called her and I was like, hey, like I'm probably going to have to go home because there was just a break-in. Like, you should probably get over here. And yeah, my mom pulled up. James's mom was there now. Everyone was talking to the police and shit. It was pretty crazy, right? Like pretty wild. And the cops were not surprised at all. They were like, yeah, we have break-ins in this area all the time. Like, this just happens a lot. Basically told us, like, James's mom should get a really, really good security system because this street's not very safe to live on. And, yeah, it was just, a lot of shit that we already kind of knew. But anyway, after, like, talking to the cops for 10 to 15 minutes, another cop pulled up and came in. And I can kind of overhear him talking to the other police. And I heard something along the lines of, we found them. And I was like, what? And James's mom was like, wait, you guys found them? And the cop was like, yeah, we think so. And we went outside and there's these 2 guys in handcuffs, like at the corner. And when the police like ended up searching them, they found belongings that belonged to James's mom in their pockets. Like they found jewelry, some earrings that like belonged to James's mom that had like her like grandma's name engraved on them or something. and something else. I can't remember what else it was, but they found shit that belonged to James's mom. And essentially these motherfuckers got caught not even 30 minutes after they broke into the house. Like, that's how fast they got caught. Now, obviously, I was curious. I was like, how'd they get found so fast? So I asked the cop that like found them, and he was like, oh, they were in that abandoned house, like just 2 houses down. So these motherfuckers broke into somebody's house and then went to an abandoned house to hang out on the same fucking street, like literally 2 houses down. I don't even know how you can be that stupid, genuinely. Like, how are you that fucking stupid? But anyway, yeah, they got caught. They got arrested. They went to jail that night. And I remember, like, obviously James's mom was really freaked out because that just, you know, made her worry about her son's safety and her safety. And she was really, really, like, freaked out. So my mom was like, hey, you know what? Why don't you guys, like, pack your bags, come sleep at our house for the night. Just calm down, relax. We'll take care of you guys. And that's exactly what they did. James' mom, James's uncle, actually, and James all packed their stuff, and after the cops left and all that was said and done for the night, we went back to my place, and we stayed there, and we just kicked it at my place, watched a movie, and fell asleep. It was actually really, really wholesome. It was like a group sleepover. It was nice. But yeah, the next day, I think James's mom had to like go and talk to the police again or something. I wasn't too involved after this because obviously it was more between James's mom and the police and stuff. But they ended up getting charged. I know that. The 2 people that broke in got charged. They got a bunch of shit. And they went to jail. I know that. As for James and his mom, eventually they had a pretty happy ending. James's mom ended up getting married to this like new guy she was dating a couple years later. And they ended up moving in with him into his house. And that guy had a fucking beautiful house in a very, very good neighborhood. And it was not anything like where he was living before. So yeah, they got to get out of there eventually. And that 2 years they were still there before they moved out. Nothing else happened, luckily. So in the end, everybody was luckily okay. James's uncle's a badass who took on 2 home invaders and beat their ass so bad they ran away. Now, I'm not saying if someone breaks into your house, you should fight them because that's a terrible idea because who knows if they have a weapon or not. But we got very lucky in this situation, and James's uncle is the GOAT for protecting us and keeping us safe and being there. Because if he wasn't there that night, we were home alone, who knows what would have happened, man. They could have came upstairs, those home invaders, and fucked us up. Who knows? It could have been really bad. But all in all, moral of the story is, it's a very simple one. If you ever hear anything late at night, like the sound of someone breaking into your house, you jump on 911 immediately. You call the cops immediately. Do not wait. Like, we waited a little bit, and that's not good. Don't wait. Immediately call 911. No hesitation. But yeah, guys, that is the story. That's pretty much the end. Pretty damn insane in my opinion, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this story time, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see y'all later. Peace.